Chef Sarah here from the Sylvia Center. We are a nonprofit and we specialize in providing food and nutrition education to youth in New York City and Columbia County. Today I'm going to teach you how to make one of our recipes that we love in all of our classes, and that is our strawberry oat bars. One thing that's really great about this recipe is it's a way to have granola bars without adding tons and tons of extra sugar. A lot of times if you buy store-bought granola bars, there's a lot of added ingredients and a lot of added sugar. So main thing that we're going to start with is our equipment. So today I need just a nice big bowl, and here I have a 1/4 sheet pan. That's the size of this, but you could use a baking dish, a casserole dish, a sheet pan like this, pretty much anything you have. If you really are looking for something, then you don't have something similar to this, you could even use a saute pan. So you definitely have a lot of options. With this, I just sprayed this with a little non-stick cooking spray. I really want to get around those edges, are kind of the key, just so it won't stick around those edges. I also have a piece of parchment paper on here. That part is not important if you do not have parchment paper at home. You do not need that. If you do have it, you can just cut a size that will fit that sheet pan. You do not want to use wax paper. It will start to melt in the oven. So I would skip wax paper, but you can either just use spray, butter, or oil on that pan, or if you do have parchment, you can use that. So we're going to mix most of our ingredients in this bowl, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have. So our first ingredient here is we have coconut. Obviously these two coconuts look very different from each other. We need total 1.5 cups of coconut, and we took half of that and toasted it. So that toasted is very nice and brown, and then we kept the rest of it non-toasted. This is unsweetened coconut, once again, so we can really control how much sugar goes into this. So if we would have bought sweetened, it would have added a lot more sugar. In this recipe, we also have butter, which I've kind of just cut up into smaller pieces, as you can see. And we also have sugar, brown sugar, all-purpose flour, oats, strawberries, and a pinch of salt. Okay, so in our bowl here, I added our toasted coconut. We're also going to add our sugar. Let's see, we need a 1/4 cup of sugar. Add that right in there. We also need a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Brown sugar is one thing that you really want to pack into the measuring cup. Everything else we want to kind of add kind of lightly in there, but the brown sugar, we really want to make sure that it is nice and full. So you can see that's pretty well packed in there. So we're going to add that in there as well. We are going to add our flour. Let's see, 1 1/4 cup all-purpose flour. We're just gonna, so you can see this is kind of nice and light in there. We're not trying to pack that flour in. Okay, let's see. Let's find our 1/4 cup. There we go. So our 1 1/4 cup flour. And we are going to add 1.5 cups of oats. I really like cooking with oats. I feel like it gives lots of flavor, lots of texture, and it packs a lot of healthiness in there for us as well. So 1.5. Add just a pinch of salt. Okay, and if you look this recipe up on our website, we actually say to use a food processor. I don't have a food processor at home, and this is one of those recipes that you can really improvise. So you don't need a food processor. You're gonna see how we're gonna mix this all together with our hands in just a second. I'm just gonna make sure we have all of our ingredients added. Great, and we are just gonna get in there with our hands. We're gonna mix this all together just till it's kind of somewhat incorporated. Nothing too crazy at this point. If you do find a big chunk of brown sugar, just break it up. Today I used dark brown sugar, but you could use light brown sugar or whatever you have around. If you don't have brown sugar, you could substitute for white sugar. It definitely will give it a little bit richer taste if you use the brown sugar, but I'm all about substituting whenever we can. Okay, so I'm just getting really in here with my hands. We're gonna mix everything together. It's gonna start to become really crumbly. If you didn't want to get your hands dirty, you could always use a fork, but the best way is just to get all that mixed up with your hands. And you'll see that butter started out in really big chunks, and the more and more I mix, the more it's going to kind of break down. You could also add spices in here. It'd be really great with cinnamon, nutmeg, whatever you might have around. Okay, it's really starting to get crumbly. I like to cook with my hands. I like to get my hands dirty. I know some people don't, but I don't mind it. Okay, at this point, there's very few butter chunks that remain. And one thing you always need to remember is that you need to do this with clean hands. We should be washing our hands anytime before we start cooking. Anytime we touch anything new, we should always be washing our hands. But with this, since our hands are really getting in there, you definitely want to make sure your hands are nice and clean. Okay, so you can see this is nice and crumbly. I'm going to take about a quarter to a half of this and just put over top of that sheet pan. About half. Okay, and I'm going to use the back of my hands to really push that to the edges. And I'll be back in just a minute to show you how that looks. Okay, so this is all done. You can see how it's nice and pushed out to all those corners. I just washed my hands so they are nice and clean. At this point, we are going to take our strawberries. I already started cutting some of these up. So today I'm using frozen strawberries. The reason that I'm using frozen strawberries is because right now strawberries are not in season. So if I was going to buy fresh strawberries, they'd probably be a little bit watery and not have much flavor. If you buy frozen strawberries or frozen fruit in general, you're going to get it when it's picked at its peak of freshness. So even though it's frozen, you're definitely actually getting a more flavorful berry than you would if you were buying it fresh. If it was the middle of summer, I would say please buy those nice, fresh, amazing summer strawberries. But right now, it is not. I recommend that with pretty much all fruit. Let's see. So what I did is I just cut this up into smaller pieces. So as you can see, just kind of broke it down a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's all going to bake together. So at this point, you can see we have our oat crumble on the bottom. And I'm going to go and just take those strawberries and try to spread them all the way over top of that. Try to get them nice and even. I see I missed a strawberry there, so I'm going to cut that down a little bit. Okay. If you don't have strawberries, you could use raspberries, blueberries. You could use mixed berries. This is amazing with apples. Really any kind of fruit that you have around. I've never tried it with bananas, but I assume it will be amazing with bananas. Okay. So once we have those strawberries as nice and spread out as possible, that's when we're going to take the rest of our oat mixture, and I'm just going to crumble that over top. And you want to try to get it as even as possible. That way you don't have one bar that's nice and crunchy and flavorful and amazing, and then another one that is not. So try to get that nice and even. And then I'm going to go over top of that and put the rest of our coconut. This is going to toast in the oven. So that's the reason that we wanted to toast the other coconut, but not this. Because when it's mixed in with that dough, it's not going to toast. But this one that's on top, it's going to get super nice and toasty and beautiful in the oven. All right, it is time to wash my hands again. Okay, I'm back. So we see how beautiful it is. Our oven has been preheating at 375. That's also the temperature that I toasted the other coconut at 375. It toasted for about 5 to 6 minutes. If it was a cooler oven, it would take a few minutes longer. So we're going to pop this in the oven at 375. It's going to bake for about 20 minutes, but I definitely recommend keeping an eye on it and checking it at that 15-minute mark and see how it looks. So we'll come back and check it out in a few. Okay, so you can see it got nice and toasty golden brown. That coconut toasted up nice. I went ahead and chilled this after it came out of the oven. That way we can cut this into really nice squares. Since I have that parchment paper on the bottom, this should slide right out of here. Okay, and we're just going to cut those into squares, rectangles, triangles, whatever you prefer. There you have our strawberry oat bars. Thank you for joining me, everyone, and for this recipe and others, and for activities and community resources, go visit our website. Stay healthy and keep cooking. Have a good day.